on those cup finals.
Sorry, gents, keep going. I'll take a quick break here. What's going on?
It's not Glenn Turner, is it?
So we've got. Right, hello everyone, welcome to the 4th episode of The Final Whistle with Ant, Martin and Nathan, and welcome to our special guest on this one. I know him as Chris Rock, but not the Chris Rock that everyone knows and loves from comedy, but the Chris Rock from the world of refereeing. First met Chris on the referee forum the best part of, 15, 16 years ago?
Yeah, seemed like eons ago now, yeah. Back in the good old days.
Awesome.
Yeah, we met on there and we kind of took a friendship ever since. So.
Yeah. So what I want to do is start off this episode by having a little chat about the appointment of the referee for the FA Cup final. Anthony Taylor's got this one. The big kind of talking point on this, I think, is that it's not his first FA Cup final, and the kind of the what would you call it, the protocol for referees is you get the convention you get one shot at the FA Cup final. You get one FA Cup final of your referee. This will be Anthony Taylor's second, and it's caused a bit of a stir online with the referees that we have on our various social media platforms. Gents, I'm going to open it up to you. What do you think? I'll go to Nathan on this one. What do you reckon about this appointment?
Well, I think it's a very good appointment, first of all, because I think that, when you think about the kind of season that he's had and the opportunities that he's had in terms of the Champions League games that he's done and things like that, I think he's had an excellent season. And I actually saw him at an event that he was talking at earlier this season, and the explanation that he had for everything that's going on is so good, because obviously we know there's a lot of moving parts with VAR and stuff like that. So I think that to have that ability to explain it and bring it all across shows you how good a communicator he is. So I think that's probably how he's managed to end up maybe coming slightly further ahead in the sort of in the rankings, which it seems as if he has done this season in terms of the English referees.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate on whether he deserves it or not. He's a cracking ref. I think that's a given. With it being his second FA Cup, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it's a really good choice, because to basically say, okay, well, we've got the best referee at the moment who's already done it, means that you can ensure that obviously he's doing really, really well in terms of, well, hopefully he'll do really, really well in terms of his performances, but also that what he will have is the experience of having done it before, so he may be a little bit less nervous and a little bit more focused just on the two teams as if it was a Premier League game.
Yeah, I think the FA deserve a bit of a pat on the back here. This might surprise some people. We're going to have to praise David Ellery here. Who's, I know. But because I think there's been a bit of thought process put into this, because Anthony, would have Anthony got it if it was a Man City, Man United Cup final? But he's from Altrincham. Would he be able to? Would anyone moan about that? Or if United were involved with Chelsea or Arsenal? So I think a bit of thought's gone into it. Fair play to Mr. Ellery, but I think what's got mentioned, and I think that this is Mr. Ellery's thought processes and the committee is. It's a very special occasion, isn't it? Yeah. It's just an amazing event. It isn't just the game, is it? And I think to experience that when you've never done it before in an empty stadium, I think that wouldn't be, deserved of someone who earns the right to be there. Have your family there, having, all the events. You might remember, but when we were growing up, the FA Cup was a full day event on TV. It went from like 10 o'clock in the morning where the coaches were leaving you know, the hotel and cameras were everywhere. There was people getting interviews on Wembley Way. It was a massive event, and I think the thought process of putting someone on this who's done it before, I think it's a good move. Quality referee anyway, no problems at all. I just think, you know, if someone who's finishing this year who hasn't had it, or something that happens between now and, you know, next year where someone who does deserve it who's going to be stepping down, it might be a bit of a kick in the teeth because you've had to do the FA Cup final. No fans there, then not do it at all. But I just think, from a positivity point of view, fair play to the FA. Well thought out appointments to all the teams there. And I don't know if anyone's picked up on it. It's actually the same game that he did in 2017.
Yeah.
It was Arsenal and Chelsea, so a little bit of interesting take on there. But congratulations to all the team. One lad I know on there, Adam Nunn, who's a assistant referee from Wiltshire. Really good lad. You might remember Adam from the guy that was involved with that horrible incident where Ashley Barnes was in his space, and it was a real horrible photograph, and Ashley Barnes didn't get punished because the decision was incorrect, and he justified his anger. But I just think, you know, positivity, great choice. Congratulations to everyone there. And, you know, I think from the RA point of view, they won't be able to do the eve of the final rally, really. So that event's gone as well. So, yeah, I think it's a challenging times for everyone.
I think that it's a wonderful opportunity for Adam, because I know that obviously in the Premier League, certainly over the last couple of seasons, Premier League, Champions League, everywhere that Anthony Taylor's gone, he's taken Adam Nunn and he's taken Gary Beswick with him. But I happen to know that obviously when he did the first FA Cup final, Anthony Taylor, he had Gary with him, but he also had, I think it was Mark Perry instead of Adam Nunn, and Adam Nunn was just the reserve assistant, which is a shame for him on that particular occasion, particularly as I know, obviously, having spoken to both of them, that they're a very, very close team that trust each other implicitly. To actually have Adam with him this time and have that opportunity to do this big final as a three will be a massive, massive thing for Adam, because if you think about it, because he works so closely with Anthony, he probably wouldn't have got the opportunity to do it with another referee. So the fact that he's got this second chance is probably a real blessing in disguise for him.
Yeah, true that. What do you reckon, Chris? And bringing it into what you do now in terms of officiating with this American football, what would be the equivalent American football final, and presumably played behind closed doors like a lot of the football is now? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'll take the NFL as an example here, because that's the pinnacle of the sport in worldwide here. Throughout the season, the regular season, the crews of referees, they, as a team, they do every game together. There's no changes on personnel. They get graded on those regular season games. When it comes to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, they pick the best graded person from each position. So therefore, you're mixing teams up. So therefore, the communication between the actual members of the crew, the playoffs and the Super Bowl, is slightly diminished. So my big thing back in the trials in the 70s and with the FA, they actually paired teams of officials together the whole season. So it was all done geographically mainly. So you had one referee and he had 8 assistants within his team. So you're working with those same 8 assistants throughout the whole season. With us here in Britain, we don't have that many members to actually do fixed crews, but they do it regionally. So we tend to work with the same people every week. So you get to tune into what your crewmates are thinking before they do anything. So you always know, right, that's where Dave's going to be. He's going to look for that. I know what he tells me is going to be good information. I can trust him. With the Premier League being a small panel nowadays, as opposed to the old nationalist days, you're going to have that more occasions of you working together with the same people of the whole year, which I think if you compare a referee with the linesman, or an assistant referee, I should say, who he entrusts implicitly on the biggest game in the country, I'm all for it. Because England, I think, is the only country in Europe, even in the world, that they used to give the referee the cup final once, and that was it. Every other country I know around Europe, if you're the best official in the league that year, you get the best game. Because, a few years ago, looking back the past, I can't remember what it was, there was one referee who got the FA Cup final. It was a shocker of the game. it's not right that he gets a game like that as his one shot at the final, basically, as I see it.
I see what you're saying. And I'm kind of in the opposite camp to a lot of what Nathan and Martin has said with regards to Anthony Taylor getting this. I still think it would be an amazing occasion. It would be a weird occasion, and it wouldn't be the same occasion as if it was a, say, normal FA Cup final with a crowd full of people and all of the, like we say, the eve of the final rally and all that stuff that goes with it. But you would be an answer in every pub quiz that takes place from now until the end of time. Like, who was the referee that took place, that officiated the FA Cup final where there were no fans in? It is still going to be a unique experience for whatever referee that gets it. It's still going to be an amazing experience and the absolute pinnacle. But there's plenty of referees that I still think would, if they said, this is going to be your one shot at doing the FA Cup final, are you happy doing it? I think a lot of them still would have said, well, yeah, I still want to do an FA Cup final if it's the weird one that there were no fans in. And another thing is, we don't know what the FA Cup final 2021 is going to look like, or 2022 is going to look like. We don't know that this is just a one-off year that we have no fans in the stadium. So, listen, don't get me wrong, Anthony Taylor completely deserves it, and I don't want to take that away. But there are other referees that I still think could have done this final, and that those reasons, with it being a COVID year and a closed-doors cup final, if the referee deserves it, that referee should have got it.
Okay, so my question to you, Ant, is do they deserve to have another opportunity? So if say you didn't give it to somebody like, for example, Stuart Atwell, who's not done it, okay? He's going to stay on the list for, you would think, at least another sort of 5 to 10 seasons after this. Would you then consider him either next year or within a period of time to have another opportunity to do it in front of the crowd, to have eve of the final rally and everything, and his family there, which is one of the reasons why they chose Anthony Taylor, because his family now won't be expected to go because of the fact that they've already been to one and supported him there?
No, stay with convention. If for the last 100 years we've had this one ref, one final kind of policy, convention, protocol, whatever you want to call it, to break it for the reasons of COVID. Yeah, it sucks that it's not going to be the same as what most of the referees would have had, but I'm still with the idea that it's still an FA Cup final. You're still going to take away not just an experience, but a more unique experience than all those other refs had, going and doing it in front of the 80, 90,000 people and having their family there, having their friends there. It's still an FA Cup final. That's I still think get a fresh ref in there to do it and give them the experience.
Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because they do it with most county FAs do the same, don't they? Oh, you'll only do the Senior Cup once or the Premier Cup once. You seem to have this sort of, I don't know, like Chris said, it might be just an English thing, I don't know, but you know, if I'm going through a whole season of a cup competition and I'm getting to the final and they're just picking someone who they think deserves it because he hasn't done it before, that's going to be a gamble, isn't it? And I think teams need to have the best referees on those cup finals.
Sorry, gents, keep going. I'll take a quick break here. What's going on?
It's not Glenn Turner, is it?
So we've got we've got decorators in, and one of them's just knocked on. But then they shouted down, and they didn't shout back that things were falling apart. So wait, I'm just in case it happens again. I'm gonna go. Bear with me. Sorry about this, gents. Yep. We'll edit this out, maybe.
Yes.
So, Chris, on this American football,
is everything all right down there?
Yeah.
What have you found any similarities in the politics, the behaviour of match officials compared back to English football? Is there anything that you've seen you can sort of transfer easily, or is it a completely different mindset?
the politics seems to be non-existent with us at our association. There's not kind of got the saga of the RAFA associated back in the 70s and 80s. So none of that's in place here. I think because there's probably not many of us actually doing this. There's not many people to have arguments with.
Well, yeah.
But but we are starting to expand now. So, but we are giving the youth guys a chance to come through onto the board of the actual association. So if anybody's got talent they can use, we'll use them. But no, I've not really come across any kind of infighting at all within the kind of the setup of the game or the governing body. So it's a little bit strange at first because you'd be expecting some things like that to be there, but there aren't. So
okay, what's that bit when one of the officials throws a flag in or whatever on an American football?
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Yeah. So basically, these are it's a weighted ball and just So basically, whenever we see so you can throw it further. So I can get like literally 30 yards on this if I just throw it there. But we use these to mark the spot of a foul during a play because certain points on the field, they have certain ways of applying the actual offence, the penalty to the offence. So the thing happens before a pass is thrown. That's different to after the ball's been let go. So it's all different. It's ways of marking multiple points on a field where offences occur. And then we also have these, which if the fumble occurs where the player loses the ball, that's just a beanbag. So we mark that at the spot where he loses the ball. Because again, if something happens after that, then we can go back, right, it happened at the spot there. So we're going to apply the foul from that spot.
Okay. So
because our rule book...
For those listening on a podcast, one's a weighted yellow flag that you throw, and one's a beanbag that you throw to mark various incidences around the field of play. So is that a compulsory part of your referee's equipment as an American football referee? Oh, really? Yes.
Yeah, we have to carry 2 of each. So if we run out of flags, we use our hat instead. Brilliant. So in case we get a third foul occur, we just drop the hat at the point of the foul.
Brilliant. Ingenuity there.
I'm glad you explained there was a flag. Because I came back, I rejoined, and it looked like Chris was waving a pair of knickers in front of the camera saying, we mark fouls with these. I'm like, what were these chatting about whilst I was away?
A weighted flag. I think also, Chris, in American football, they were bringing in sort of VAR, TMO, probably with the first sport to do that, weren't they? I think, I might be wrong, but I can't remember another sport who was using, the groundbreaking stuff that they do in the NFL with regards to, you hear the refereeing. It's almost like a perfect storm because rugby, you hear the refereeing, football, you don't. TMO, is in rugby, do the screen, you can talk through it. You've always been, as a sport, I think, streets ahead when it comes to the VAR, TMO kind of things. Yeah,
because replay came in first in the 1980s, the early 1980s when they first tried it in NFL with replay. The coaches didn't like it, so they actually voted it off the actual rules for about 10 years. And then it came back in the early 90s. It's been with us ever since. So each year, the coaches and teams actually suggest law changes that get voted on by the teams at this once-a-year meeting in the NFL. So some of them get applied, some of them don't. They trial certain things. With the video replay, it's all done from one office in New York by one group of people, so it's kind of one VAR, as it were. But the TV broadcast, they have their own analyst, who's an ex-referee, who comes on and talks through the decision as to what they're looking for and as to why they've done that, as to why they've called a certain thing. And the main Dean Blandino did the job for him, and then for the university games, there's a guy called Bill Lamonier, who's a lot like yourself here, Martin. He does a lot of instructing, supporting young officials coming through. He comes over to our annual meeting every year to give us lectures and instructions on how to apply law correctly. The questions I answer. So he's kind of in charge of the international officiating pathway program. So, but he refereed at the highest level in university in America in front of 150,000 people on several finals. So, yeah, so he's a good man to have in our corner.
Yeah, in other parts of NFL or college football is huge, isn't it? Some of the spectators you get are in the tens of thousands in college games, isn't it? In American football.
Yeah, because if you turn someone back to the World Cup in '94 in the States, USA '94, all but two of the stadiums they use are actually for college football. Normally, they're actually built for the universities.
Wow.
And it's still the World Cup with the highest average attendance of any World Cup ever played, because the grounds were that big. They could hold 70,000, 80,000 people without any problems. So, yeah, it's massive. It's totally different to what we have here. If you get about 100 people turn up, you're lucky.
Nate, did you hear what Chris said? Thanks, Chris, by the way, mate. That's good stuff, that. Did you hear what Chris said about managers of teams have suggested input on law changes? Is that what you said, Chris? That is what you said?
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Nate?
Well,
yeah, so it's...
Yeah, no, I just think that it's something that you always seem to have in this country at all levels is that complaining about referees having that lack of humanity and basically everything that goes with that. But I think there's two things that I've always thought about this. The first being that the referees are there to apply the laws, and there's only so much time we've got before games to explain certain aspects of law. And I actually think that it will be beneficial if the league meeting was contained that item on the agenda is that we understand laws and we can go through specific points of law, and that maybe somebody at RDO or whoever it might be from the FA could maybe attend that and answer all those questions. So I think that's a big thing. And I think the concept of the fact that referees don't just make up the laws as they go. There is a book that we are interpreting, and it's not as if it's just our decision, because I think one of the big ones that comes, you just talked about video technology there. One of the big ones that came the other week was Sheffield United against Tottenham with a goal that was disallowed for handball and things like that. I think it was Michael Oliver that was getting a lot of abuse for that, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with him. He's doing his job as he's told. He's interpreting the laws of the game as he has been told them, as he's learnt them, whatever way you want to spin it. That is not Michael Oliver deciding in the VAR room, I don't like Sheffield, I don't like Tottenham, I'm going to make this decision, and I'm going to tell the referee. It's simply a case of he's got to do his job properly. He's got to apply the laws properly. Otherwise, he's damaging his career.
It reminds me of a great quote from a video I watched from one of the Aussie rules games. Umpires made a decision, players having a game, and says, "Don't blame me, mate. I only read the rule book. I didn't write it."
Yeah,
true.
Which is
I just love the concept.
Great way of saying so.
Harry Redknapp and the FA referees committee in the same room talking to IFAB about rule changes. I would just pay good money to see Harry Redknapp in a room with those people who make the rules, the laws of IFAB, talking about an armpit being offside and the left toe being offside. I just think, let's do it. Yeah. Let's get managers. I know they have these certain people and delegates. If you look at IFAB, they did the photo, didn't they? There must have been about 50 people there. I can't remember seeing high-profile managers in there or stakeholders in football. And remember, IFAB is fundamentally the UK's nations, isn't it? It's mainly UK nations, which I always found a bit bizarre.
What I will also say though is that I don't envy their job in any way, shape, or form. IFAB, I don't envy them, and I know that David Ellery had an involvement in that, and obviously he's coming from a former refereeing point of view. But I don't envy them one bit, because I do think that what you're actually talking about here is a set of laws that have to fit the top to the bottom in every nation of the world. This is not a simple process. And I think that still, even if we were to say, okay, we're going to let XYZ come in and do it. We're going to have somebody from Spain. We're going to have somebody from France. We're going to have if you've got somebody from every association within FIFA, you'd have a room full of thousands and thousands of people, and you'd never come to any decision. So I really don't envy them one bit when it comes to that the difficulty of making that decision and the appropriate nature. I think the one that everybody talks about, the law that I talk about that brings it all into perspective, is the one about, and we touched on it before, your friend Martin Lee Probert getting caught up in the shirt removal booking. And I think that the reason for that, which we know is obviously down to the fact that it's offensive to remove your shirt in some cultures. It all comes down to the fact that that culture has to be at the forefront of the minds of the people who are coming up with these laws. So, I think it's Asia. I think it's one of the Asian religions that basically forbids it. And football has to be inclusive to everybody. And we talk about that. So I think that law there, where is one where people go, I can't understand that law. We need to remove that law. It's a ridiculous law, but it's actually there for a significant reason, and that's because removing your shirt is offensive to certain cultures. So I think that there's all of that needs to be, considered when you make any law change, whether it's something like that or whether it's a handball or an offside or whatever it might be.
I think it's checks and balances, isn't it? Is there something like 8 votes when it comes to law changes or something like that? 4 of them come from IFAB, 4 of them come from FIFA, collectively as the 100 and whatever amount of nations there are out there, condensed into 4 votes, whereas England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales get a vote each. That is a significant amount of power for those, like you say, those 4 home nations versus... Spain is a massive footballing nation. Germany is a massive footballing nation. Yeah. But when you dilute the power behind their vote 100, however many times down those countries that also get a vote, it's so out of sync about who gets the power, where the power lies in football. And it is the playground's equivalent of people playing a game saying, this is my ball, these are my rules, and if you want to go and change them, well, no, you can maybe suggest them, but ultimately, if us 4 say we don't like that rule's not going to change. And I do think maybe there needs to be redress the balance, because it's very outdated, it plays into the old boys club, power grab and trying to hold and maintain that amount of power in the footballing world. And it's a global game. It's crazy to think that just the UK has that much influence on it.
It comes back to what we were saying last time when we were speaking to Joe about how we can learn from our partners in other countries and the way that they do things, and we can take on board their ideas and all work together to improve the game. And I think that's something that really probably should be considered going forward.
You've got to look at the referees committee of FIFA. There's no one from the UK, to my knowledge, involved in it. And I think there's people like from Mauritius on the referees committee of FIFA, but there's no one from, Mike Riley's not involved, there's no one from the PGML, there's no one from the FA involved, but they're in IFAB. And I just think, I wonder why that is. I wonder why there's no one from the UK. To my knowledge, someone can correct me if they want, if I'm wrong, and I'll put my hands up. But to my knowledge, there's no one from the UK involved in the FIFA referees committee. There's an IFAB.
I think that goes back to a similar sort of the British culture of I know what I like and I don't like change. And in order for British people to transplant themselves into another body like that, you see it with top professional players. There are very few English, Welsh, Irish or Scottish players playing in the top flight leagues anywhere else in the world apart from their home nations. And I think that is, it's 2 things. It's money, because for some reason, especially with English players, they are priced out of the market just because they've got a certain passport. And the other is the culture of they don't like going to a different place that they don't like. It's generalising. But you've got an example of Gareth Bale, who's been living in Spain, working in Spain for such a long time, still hasn't learned the language as far as I've if the reports are to be believed. So it's maybe a little bit of culture, and it's maybe a little bit of, well, I'm held in such high regard in what is a very powerful IFAB system compared to FIFA. Why would I want to take myself out of this and put myself into a FIFA system where my I don't know, my importance or my significance in the machine would be much, much lower than it is in my position in IFAB?
I think that's where Mark Clattenburg deserves some credit, I guess, really, is the fact that he wanted to step away from the Premier League. I know there was a number of reasons, but I think one of the reasons was that he wanted a different challenge. And obviously he took the first job he took was in Saudi Arabia. And he wanted to take that expertise and that knowledge that we have within the select group in England, in the Premier League. And he wanted to go somewhere else with it. And I think that's where he deserves that bit of credit. And I know that Howard Webb's done wonders for the professional referees organisation in America with, obviously, that thing. If I'm not mistaken, I know they brought it in. I think they brought it in halfway through the season, didn't they, VAR, when they first brought it in. And that was so that it was brought in tandem with the European season, which obviously falls halfway between, halfway through the MLS season. And he was one of the first to adopt it, and I think they've been really successful. But then again, obviously, as we touch on what we were saying with Chris, America's a very, very technical country, and anything that involves video is going to enhance the sport there and actually make it more interesting to people as a spectacle in America, because it's almost old hat if you haven't got technology in your sport in America. I think all of the major sports that I can think of have actually got that. So, I think that those guys who have gone, and I know Peter Walton went as well, across to I think it was Canada and the States. I think he had some involvement within refereeing. Obviously, you talk about Gareth Bale as a player, but I know within refereeing, a lot of people have gone away, and I think Steve Bennett as well. I saw I think he went to UAE or somewhere like that. So there's been loads and loads of guys who retired in retired in this millennium that have actually gone on to impart knowledge, experience, and enhance referees in other countries where they're trying to obviously get up to the level that we're at. Because at the end of the day, we've got a Qatar World Cup coming up in a couple of years' time, and obviously I would think that they'll want a representation from Middle Eastern referees at that tournament, as well as Middle Eastern players. So. I definitely think that it's important that we get to those areas and try and help them out.
Well, here's one for you. I'll put it to each and every one of you. The top players around the world can be bought and sold and go to the best teams with the most money. Okay? Why not have a system where the best referees from a certain country can be poached and bought by the leagues with the most money? So the Premier League would cherry pick the officials from France, Spain, Germany, pay them, bring them on. There's only two countries with professional referees, and that is England and Italy, I think. Everywhere else is like a kind of national panel system, as far as I'm aware. If that's wrong, feel free to correct me. But why not have all of the teams, the best teams in the world, the top teams in the world, buy their talent? Very few are home produced, so why do we do it?
Can of worms there. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? It kind of makes some sense, really. If you've got the best products in the world, you want the best officiating in the world.
The Premier League referees at the moment come under an immense amount of stick for not being good enough. So you say, okay, to all these naysayers of the Premier League refs, who are the better refs that you want to see? And why are they the better refs that you want to see? And if I guarantee, though, even though this is I'm going to say it's a groundbreaking idea and it's a good one, it would not change people's perception of Premier League referees not being good enough to referee in the Premier League.
No.
It will always be there that the fans and various stakeholders in the game will say, oh, these referees are shit. Even though they're the best, they're the cherry-picked, they're the best in the world, the fans would still say, not good enough.
I agree, and I think that it's actually something that I saw that the WSL they're bringing on a professional panel, certainly in the pipeline to do that, and I know that's something that they really want to do. And to be honest, men or women, it doesn't matter. If we can have more and more professional referees in this country, I think that we can blaze a trail for other countries. And I absolutely think that refereeing is something that if you want to keep up with the players that you're refereeing at the very, very top level, at the pinnacle of the game, you need to be able to dedicate the same amount of time that they do to improving your technical skill as a referee, improving your technical sort of viewpoint of the players. Because make no mistake, the players, the coaches, the clubs, they all study the referees. So as much as it needs to happen both ways, but also it comes around to the condition, condition, nutrition, all that kind of thing. That all takes time, to maybe even make the meals and then train and have a proper sort of diary plan of how you're going to go and all the travel that involves. You hear now all the guys that are on the FIFA list talking about the way that they travel and the way that they're going to have meals and this and that and the other. And I think that it's really, really important that we consider every aspect of a referee's life, because I wrote an article probably about five months ago, maybe now, where I was talking about the fact that, you'll have a referee and you'll have a cycle where they have a couple of weeks off at the end of the season, then they're going into Europa League and Champions. This is FIFA referee. They're going to Europa League, Champions League qualifying in July, get to August. You might have the Charity Shield if you've got that game, but then immediately you're into the Premier League. You're then flying out to do the international break in September. You've got the Premier League. You've got Champions League starts after the international break in September. Another international break in October, Premier League. Another international break in November. Then in England, we've got an unbelievable sort of tight fixture list where referees are constantly on the road. 3 games in 5 days as it is when you have the weekend before Christmas, Boxing Day, then you come round to the next weekend, then you've got New Year's Day. It's absolutely relentless for particularly English referees. And I know that maybe it's a little bit different because I know they have a couple of months off in some of the other countries in Europe. But I still think that these are all things that we need to bear in mind, the fact that it really is a full-time job and you are really, really pushing the boundaries. You're making sacrifices already with your family life. So to have a full-time job alongside that is just something that really it's a bit incomprehensible to me.
I think, I want to sound like Kevin Keegan here, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it if we could have different referees in different countries. Now, don't forget, we have it anyway. It's called FIFA and UEFA. We've got it. Yep. We've already got this system where referees go to other countries and referee other teams. Still get complaints. You don't really hear that much there because it's a sort of different beast. David Ellery got invited to referee, I think it was the Brazilian Cup final, the Argentina Cup final, years ago. It was a big, massive event. He went over there, did the game, no problems at all. 120,000 people watching the Cup final. Major news, but we haven't done it here. Colina was hated in Italy, but loved everywhere else. Graham Poll, hated here, loved everywhere else. Clattenburg seems to be loved everywhere. There's only a couple of, I know Everton fans don't like Clattenburg because of a dodgy penalty or something he did in a derby game, but put that aside, there is examples out there of referees going to other countries and doing games. And going back to an earlier point about us travelling, we're right back, Keith Hill, ex-Football League referee, stopped refereeing, went to Japan. Ray Olivier left the PGMOL, left the FA, went to the PGMOL, left the PGMOL, went to Japan. I think he's still in Japan now. Is there head of refereeing? Clattenburg's now just been announced that he's going to Greece. As you said, you had Steve Bennett over the UAE. Pete Walton. There is a precedent of us being sort of this UK brand or England brand of the Premiership officials going out to raise the standards of referees in other countries. So I was absolutely love to see someone like Rossetti when he was doing coming over here to do a Merseyside derby or a Manchester derby, or I'd absolutely love that with a team of his officials. You wouldn't have to see a difference. We've touched on it. Some referees who were FIFA referees in the Premier League referee different to referees who aren't FIFA. We discussed about Mike Dean, didn't we, on the last one, where Mike Dean was only invented as a personality after he stopped being a FIFA referee, because he was allowed to have his personality. It's a brilliant subject. We could do an whole hour on this and give examples of why that's beneficial. Remember, English is the universal language of FIFA.
Well, yeah.
FIFA referee have got to be a standards of English probably higher than mine to be an international referee. So I think, so I'm bored with that. Let's see our referees traveling the world and other referees coming here.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll segue into back to the grassroots, if we may. Obviously, there's some guidance from the FA to this date that has kind of said grassroots football can restart, but here's a very loose list of things that we want to see that you have to prepare for COVID and stuff like that. Some of the things like doing an equipment check from 2 meters away, which I think is crazy. How can you check the sharpness? How can you spot a stud that could potentially cut someone's leg open, have that sharpness from 2 meters away? I mean, I've got decent enough eyesight, but I think I would struggle from that distance to kind of spot what you're looking for in an equipment check. Sure, you can see that they've got shin pads or not, but in order to check boots and whatnot, you've got to get fairly close. And then the stuff like post-game, like handing cash over. If you're getting paid in cash, some leagues are saying don't do that now, or put it in an envelope and seal it so you're not actually physically handling the cash, like the envelope is some sort of magical barrier that would stop the pass of COVID, or just give them your bank details, stuff like that. Just make sure they're not a Nigerian prince if you're doing that. It opens a massive can of worms, this very loose guidelines from the FA. I just want to see something a bit more specific and a bit more comprehensive to say, here's a list of things that absolutely everyone must adhere to in order to get grassroots going again. I don't know what you guys have seen of these lists that have come out. There's been one, I think, from the FA. Nothing yet from my RDO who's still furloughed in Liverpool County FA. What about you guys where you are? What have you heard?
Well, I think that this, we're recording this on the 23rd, aren't we? So there's still another week if they need to come back off furlough and they need to come together. But I think really, if even all the RDOs come together and say this is what we need, this is the guidance we need to be giving our referees, then we can move to make some better decisions with regards to the way we approach and prepare our games, because I'm absolutely certain that when we go out to referee, we're going to have to make some alterations. So I think that having almost like a bullet pointed list in our minds about must do this, must do this, must do this, must do this, that will then ease the process and it'll make it much more seamless. But it is going to be difficult. It doesn't matter. You give your list as long as your arm. If it changes and safeguards and this and that and the other. It's not going to be normal. We probably will fall into, because with everything, with a mask and whatever, sometimes you forget what you're doing because you're so used to things not being that way. So I think that we're going to have to almost fight our own sort of routines and habits when we do start. And I think that just a little bit of outline guidance that gives us key points, things that we need to remember, they'll be important going forward, absolutely.
Well, we haven't had our governing body currently putting together a return to play protocol here. So we've got nothing official for us in our sports. But all our finance stuff is done electronically. The teams actually can prepay us. So nothing gets on the day. So that's all done electronically 2 days after the games itself. A bit like how the FA Futsal League do things with the FA centrally there. We are just waiting for guidance from the governing body rather than the government. I've got faith in BAFA to actually get this right. They've already started getting teams back into training as of this week. in, I think, groups of no more than 6, and basically just everything's got to be sanitised as you go along. Because the main thing when we go back is the proximity plays to each other for a lot of our game. Literally, probably about 95% of the time, you got the offense defense lineup about a yard apart from each other, basically just staring each other down. And there's a lot of physical contact in the nature of the game as well. So they need to try and get through a procedure to minimise the risk of transmission between contact on players. We've probably been told, the officials have probably got to wear face masks on the field. So we'll go with that. Whistles are going to be a problem. So I've actually gone out and invested in one of these electronic whistles to see how that goes when we return. But there's things that we haven't thought of that probably needs to be addressed before we can get back out there safely. So, but it just needs clear, concise, definitive guidance. Otherwise, as we've seen with everything else in this world, there's going to be confusion all over the place.
Fair play. I sit in this circle it's us again, referees, the last to think of again. All the clubs have had their stuff. All the players have had their stuff. Oh, by the way, let's sort the referees out by the 1st of August when people could be playing on the same day these guidelines come out. Now, people are saying, it's common sense, don't do this, don't do that. How many times do you swap your lino with club linos in a game? You do it at least once, don't you?
Yeah.
So have you got to clean the flags every time you swap a club lino? There's a bit of a debate that said they've advised you when you do your kit and equipment check to wear a mask during that time, so you can get a bit close. Like So said, it's going to be hard to do from 2 meters. Massive. I think it was 263 comments on a post on our Facebook page, of Support UK, where a Sunday League manager had come on and said, "Hey guys, what's the score? How do you want to get paid? Lots won cash." The amount of referees. Now, some of them are listening to this. Shame on you. They're demanding cash because they're saying, "I don't want to go through my books. I don't want to. I'm self-employed." Really? You want us to pay you in gyros next? What's all that about? And then we had this other referee come on and give us some stick because he said some clubs are asking us not to charge a fee. Well, if you don't want to charge a fee, don't charge a fee. It's okay. You don't have to take it. All match fees. You don't throw it at you. Mind you, some probably do, but
it depends on the game.
You can say no. You can say that's all right. The amount of times I've gone to games and said, "Say you are, just buy me a pint afterwards," and we've had a pint afterwards, and it goes down so well. How can we expect clubs not to want to build bridges with us when we've got referees out there that are saying, "There's no way in the world I'm not going to get out of bed for 35 quid. No chance." That doesn't sound a good message. Let's be a better game. I put this out as let's just be a better game. Let's just look at giving a little bit back. And this might stop the accusation that referees are always taken from the game. Let's give a bit back. I'd absolutely love Kevin Keegan again here. Absolutely love it if we had a day where every referee gave back their fee. Do it through the RA, do it through the FA, do it through us into one pot, and then we chose clubs to give that money back to do their work on their pitch, on the referees' facilities, on the let's be a better game. And I was really shocked at some of the people saying, there's no way I'd do it for nothing. And I just think, and those who are demanding cash, well, sorry, you're going to have to stop refereeing because eventually we're going to go cashless. So get used to it.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised by the mercenary referees, the ones that will not stay up to date with the laws of the games. That they're not, training fitness-wise in between matches. They are the ones that'll just turn up on your Sunday morning, Saturday afternoon, whenever the game is, stand in the centre circle, blow their whistle, allow a game to go on around them, and they will happily take their match fee at the end of it. And what surprises me is those referees continue to operate and don't get pulled up by anyone that kind of says, come on, you're providing a service. When we're not locked down, when we're not on COVID, I'm training 5 days a week. I'm taking as many matches as I can, but I also want to deliver a minimum level of service. I want to be keeping up with play for the 90 minutes, getting mobile around the pitch. But then I'll take the exact same match fee as the 20-stone ref that stands in the centre circle and just blows his whistle and gives a penalty from the halfway line. That has got to be a kind of, like you say, be a better game. If you listen, there are referees that do that. They're the ones that there should be. How would you even police or monitor that? Yes, with lower marks, but at some point, you're getting I don't want to slag off any referees with any choice language or words that I use here, but I think mercenary referees are a problem, and a problem that does need addressing. But it doesn't surprise me that there are people that will proudly comment on a thing saying, "I demand my payment. I'm giving up 2 hours of my day, and I expect this." Well, okay, the club also expects a little bit back from you. Keep up with the game. Be up to date with the laws. I know referees. I've seen referees on other pitches that are still refereeing to the laws of the game as they were 10 years ago. That shouldn't be happening. And there should be some sort of comeback on those refs.
I think that...
Do you know what? In our Love the Whistle document that we did in 2016, our whole Love the Whistle documents, all about being a better game and getting in it. We've got a part of it that says referees, when they register, can tick a box to say, "I'm not going to apply for promotion." You will never get looked at by an assessor, by a mentor or anything else. So you can register, go through the promotion, get to level 5, whatever you want, senior county referee. You tick a box, and you then do not get any form. You are not obliged to get any form of training. Now, I'm sorry, that's a bad move by the county FAs to allow that to happen. And I don't think teams in leagues notice that you can be a referee, you can tick a box and get no form of continual personal development. Even when the county FAs, some of them are brilliant, as we know, put on free events, free law updates, maybe, training on, dealing with difficult conversations, challenging situations, dealing with aggression. All these things that you need as a match official are offered free by some county FAs, not all of them. And yet these people don't go. And we've said, I think if you don't go to an upskill, a CPD event, after 2 years, then you can't referee. Take your license away.
Yeah.
Take them away, because we've got a duty of care as match officials to be fit, to be up to speed with all modern practices of how to be a referee and all modern law changes. Shame on you.
Their argument will be, though, that basically we've already got a shortage of referees. I know that they always talk about a percentage of fixtures that are refereed by a non-neutral referee, particularly on Sunday morning leagues. Over the course of the season, there's a percentage of fixtures that comes out in the statistics that have been refereed by non-neutral referees because of the shortage that there is. I mean, obviously listen to Ant before you spoke as well, Martin, about talking about referees taking the money and not giving a satisfactory service and things like that. I think that, again, like I said before, every referee, not just internationally, but in this country, comes from a different walk of life and has different circumstances around them. And I think that, you could have a referee who, there was one, wasn't there? I think it was the Swedish referee, was a millionaire. He was a FIFA referee, was a millionaire.
Anders Frisk.
Yeah, so a millionaire. So he was refereeing, obviously, because one, he was very good at it, and two, he was very, obviously got a lot of enjoyment out of it. It was a big thing for him. But I think that we need to look at it like that as well. Even grassroots level, you might have a guy who's a company director on 200 grand or something, and that's fine for them to just do it as an enjoyment thing. But we have to remember that a big proportion of the referee workforce in this country is young people who are either at school, at college, or at university, and this is a bit of money for them to keep them going on top of what they're doing, and it's a really good alternative to working in a shop, because you get exercise, you get fitness, you develop your people skills, you develop all the skills that we have with refereeing that enhance your CV much more than working in Top Shop. But I think at the end of the day, it's about getting that right balance. So I think it's good if you can give them a bit of pocket money and they can develop their skills with it. But I think that we have to look as well at the same time that if you had somebody who was maybe, in a successful job and, had nice house, nice car, everything like that, and they were doing it because they wanted to get the money, and even though really they should be doing it for the enjoyment side of it, like Anders Frisk, as you said there. I think it's about the motivation. I think that's the most difficult thing, because you can't just go around sort of really viewing everybody and understanding every aspect of everybody's lives. And I think that's where you need to find the balance.
Yeah, fair point. Chris, I know that time is scarcity for you. You've got to leave us now. Any final words, anything you want to plug or promo before you go?
I'll just say to everybody out there, people that I know, people that have come through the system, stay safe, guys. We've got time to get you back out there. Just take it easy. Just do things properly, okay? This week we should have been in Norway Cup this week. First time in about 35, 40 years it's off. So unfortunately, that's kind of put paid to our summers here. So I know about 50 or 60 English referees are kind of got a loose end at their disposal the next couple of weeks. But yeah, guys, just don't rush back. Just stay safe. So
cool. We had Jorg on last week. We kind of invited ourselves to the Easter Open, so we're going to do the same for the Norway Cup. If we can make it, we'll make it. But we expect the invite from you, Chris. Thanks very much for joining us, mate, and we'll see you around.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Take care. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. See you a bit.
Right, is this the part where we slag him off now because he's That's be like proper referee, you slag him off when he's
yeah.
Just dropped us off in the car. He was a
shit him. Stood in the centre circle.
Martin, you're such a cynic. You're such a cynic, Martin.
Drop me right in it with the flag.